All right. Welcome, everyone. Hello. We are so excited to have you for From Global Chaos to Content Control, Mastering Labeling Content Reuse. Thank you so much for being here. We know that your time is valuable, so we truly appreciate your attendance. My name is LaRonda Sparrow, the Senior Marketing Manager here at Docuvera, and I'm your host for today's session where we'll be talking about labeling content reuse and how companies can transform outdated processes with structured content authoring platforms like Docuvera. But before we get started, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. We are recording this session, and after we conclude, we will be sending the recording and the slides to you via email. If you have any questions or if you're experiencing any technical difficulties, please let us know by using the questions tab at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. We really want to hear from you, so please um, feel free to use that. And then lastly, we have provided you with some additional learning materials that you can download and save for future reading. And we will be promoting them throughout the webinar. And so you'll also receive them with the recording and the slides in the email that will come prior to this event or after this event. Now that housekeeping is out of the way, I'd love to introduce you to our speakers, Aristotle Pantelis and Susie Wen. Aristotle, I would love to start with you. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your role here at Docuvera?
Hi, good. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. It's wonderful to see all the attendants and the variety of companies and consultants that are joining us today. I've been around the life sciences for about 30 years, holistically through a variety of areas, from logistics through content and into talent and whatnot, and back to content. And so I've had a wonderful journey of supporting a lot of labeling teams on both the medical device and pharma side, through global labeling systems, through translation management systems, through supporting their talent needs. And here at Docuvera kind of sums it all up, something I've been trying to achieve in my career, and I've still got another runway of time, but we're achieving it now, is closing a lot of those gaps that we all call that end-to-end process, where we have that nice digital data flow of content. So I'm happy to be here. Thanks for joining us. I know it's a short webinar today. We'll get over to Susie.
Hi, everyone. Susie Wen here. I'm the Director of Life Sciences Solutions with Docuvera. And like Aristotle, I have a background in localization and internationalization and content strategy as well. So I work with our customers and our prospective clients to better understand how Docuvera can address some of their documentation needs. So I'll be showing you the demo of Docuvera today. I'm pretty excited about that. Over to you, Rhonda.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Aristotle and Susie. And I'm thrilled to be getting into the content. And we are going to kick things off with our first poll. And that should be popping up on your screens right now. So what is your organization's biggest challenge with its current labeling processes? Lack of a single source of truth to store content, maintaining consistency and avoiding errors, collaborating and coordinating with affiliates, or staying compliant with changing global regulations?
All of these are ones that we hear about quite a bit. I'm interested to see what people are going to weigh in on here.
And if it doesn't pop up on your screen, there is a poll tab at the bottom of your screen for you to access that published poll.
It'll be a quick poll, everybody. Get your vote in.
All right.
Awesome. We're getting a good amount of traction here, and it seems that maintaining consistency and avoiding errors is a lot of companies' biggest challenges. And Aristotle, Susie, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk through that and go through our presentation.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like people read the question because we're talking about process here. But I know a lot of leaders have been talking to me about staying compliant, or getting prepared to be compliant for what's coming. So I thought Dee might have had some good traction, or take the lead.
Right. Well, and it's all related, because even the single source of content helps address the consistency and getting ahead of some of those errors. Yeah, that's great. It's good insight.
Well, we can just move forward, LaRonda. Can we the poll's in. We're good to go, right? All right. Hi again, Aristotle Pantelis here. The topic here is reuse, because reuse enables so much in our content processes. And what we're trying to share here today is that reuse is an enabler. There's so many vast topics we could talk about in labeling, but because reuse is enabler for so many of them and so much efficiency, that's why the focus is on this today for this 30-minute webinar. Again, what's happened in the industry over a couple decades is reuse has happened. It's happening in many of your environments, but it's happening largely in a copy and paste culture environment where you're using content from other existing approved documents and you're physically copying and pasting it as authors into other documents. We know AI is changing some of that and things like that, but still, when you're working in a monolithic document, that's the process that you have to be able to share content. So again, we're relying on old document formats in the market for the most part. There's a lot of early innovator companies that have adopted structured authoring in a variety of ways through DITA and XML and a variety of systems like Docuvera. But again, most of the industry is still not achieving effective reuse, and it's breaking down because they're not centralizing on a single source of authoring truth, where source data, source systems are connected with that. And their users are working in silos. So the idea that core teams have visibility over local markets is happening, but it happens in a very inefficient way when documents are shared and checked in and checked out of document management systems and things like that. So what's the cost of all that, right? So the real world cost of not having an efficient reuse process is a variety of things. So you have definitely in the productivity of your exact authoring, where you're searching for content, you're not finding content easily necessarily, you're creating duplicate content across markets and in different environments, because you might be sharing or accessing a database of components per se of reusable content, and then sharing it at one level, but you may not have vision on the derivative content that changes over time, like you can do with component metadata tag content. So again, this happens where you can create a lot of inefficiencies, where you can string out your time to market, your authoring times get extended. You're not sharing properly with your downstream systems and translation processes and things like that, and you're creating more cost along the way. Big one some of our customers tells us is about the variety of huge content that's created that they don't even know that exists in their environments, or they have to constantly manage. And we call that content debt. When your affiliates deviate from core content and you don't have vision over what they're doing, that rework process takes a long time. So again, there's an efficient way to use content. We're going to start sharing some of that with you today. What I have here for you is I decided to share just this linear process here, very rudimentary, to show you what this looks like, with Word authoring, with sharing that content, checking in and out of document management systems, the monolithic document, with trying to share in a localization process and having 27 languages for EPI or Europe be coordinated. Very, very tedious. You're reviewing more content than you need to review oftentimes. And then you're submitting still, because it's required, PDFs and Word documents to authorities. But we all know it's here with some entities, some countries, digital delivery is going to be required. And if you're going to try to cobble that together with a variety of systems, an authoring tool, a review tool, uploading content to a portal at a translation company, manually sending content to another company that might be doing SPL conversion to you. Again, very tedious. So the option here is to have a future state system where you can have a platform, have fully digital, fully create a project once, output that project to any format you need to, whether it's FIRE for the future or for current, for Word, PDF, etc. All that can happen now. But again, you're creating efficient review processes where you're only reviewing content in context of what needs to be reviewed. You're doing the same thing in your translation processes of only reviewing content that needs to be translated and updated and maintained. And then again, reuse enables all of this because you're harmonizing that content. You have core visibility over local markets. And again, you can be fully compliant with dynamic regulations that are here. Again, connectivity to your artwork management systems, sharing content throughout this entire process through API calls, and then right even into, again, producing that content on the shop floor in your manufacturing areas, let alone from just submitting digital content that's going to need to be submitted for the API mandates that are coming. So this is the vision here. I'm moving forward to share a solution that Susie's going to share, and then we'll go right into the demo. Thank you so much.
And as you were saying, Aristotle, part of the reason that Docuvera works this way is because we're building the content in components from the start. And as this graphic illustrates, Docuvera is this repository of this content at component level, and those components can be reused across different documents, across different products. And this reuse is not a copy and paste. So these links that you see as illustrated here in this diagram, it's forming a relationship between the source component and the mapping to where that component is used. And that relationship sets up a notification system. So anytime that there's a change, the authors are notified about that because the entire system is traceable and linked back to the source.
Components, tables, images, and narrative content, all associated with the metadata that flows with them.
And that I will start sharing my screen and get into the demo of Docuvera. All right. So as I navigate, you can now see that I'm logged into a Docuvera instance of a library. And this is a cloud-based software, so I'm operating this on a web browser. And this is just an ordinary library, is what we refer to as the entire database. And in the database, projects. We don't call them documents because it's not always a document that you're going to be publishing out. It can be a number of different formats. And then we have filters to be able to find the content more easily. And we are able to customize these and tailor the filters for your business needs, for your working groups. So if I want to get started in Docuvera, I would, as an author creating a new project, to just click this Create New Project prompt at the top. And I can give my project any sort of name. So let's say if I wanted to create an SMBC, and I would put it into the workspace called labeling. You can see workspace is actually a filter on the side here. And I would select a project type, and any number of templates show up. These are templates that reside in the system. And that's a point that I will make here as well, that all the content that you see me reaching for in Docuvera is actually contained in the Docuvera system. It's a system of governance. And this last selection is life cycle. So this means that I am now attaching to this new project all the review cycles, all the approval cycles that I would need to support this type of documentation. All right, so instead of creating a new one, I'm simply going to back out and go into this project, which I already have created. It's using the very same template, and we can see that it's in draft and it's pretty new. So let's go ahead and look at this project. So when we have a project open, a number of these features that you're seeing are inherited from the template itself. The entire structure of this project is coming from the template, and also all of the formatting, which I'm able to preview really quickly here. But the formatting is a function of the template, and simply by selecting the SMPC for the output, this template comes in automatically, and the author doesn't need to do anything to make that happen. Also, I'll point out that at any point in time, an author can publish out in these out-of-the-box primary formats. But since this is an SMPC, it's also possible that we could publish this out in another type of format, labeling formats such as FIRE, SPL. We support those, and that is tied to the very specific life cycle that is attached to an SMPC template in this case. Now, that life cycle selection that we made when we first created the project, that brought in all of these, the review cycles that are needed to support this. And here's where also I find approval. Now, this is a system that works completely collaboratively. So if I am logged in and my buddy is also logged in, I am going to see everybody working simultaneously in this project. And right now I have my friend Alice who's just joined me. All right, so keep in mind that when I go into a review or approval, it's also a collaborative system there, multiple people working simultaneously in the same project. Other things that come in with a template are properties, and the properties are necessary for a lot of functions. Findability in the system. This is the metadata that establishes that, the filters. It's also the backbone for all the integrations that we form with upstream and downstream systems. And a lot of these are filled in automatically, a seamless sort of experience for the author, and that when this is published downstream, all of the necessary metadata and properties from this would flow with the content, such as if it's going to Viva Vault or a RIM system, something like that, then the properties would be there as well. All right, so let's talk about content a little bit. Let's go into a section where I want to be adding some content, and I will work on section 4.6. If I wanted to add something new, I would simply add in new content here. But we want to really focus on reuse today. And reuse happens with this function here, this get reusable content. So when I do that, I still have my working project on the left-hand side, but on the right-hand side, I have a number of available projects for me to select. And notice how the majority of them are approved. And by default, an approved project is available for reuse. All the components in that project are also approved. And I can use my filters here as well to say I'm working in the labeling workspace. I'm looking for a core data sheet. My product is actually called Ziptria, and between that alone, I have located the content that I need. And so I can simply go into the area where I want to be leveraging my content from the core data sheet, and easily I can see that I have content here that belongs in my sections. My lactation section had nothing, and then I have a section of pediatric. Now, as I'm bringing this in, it's simply a drag and drop operation, but you notice the moment I do that, I see a recycled symbol, and that's telling me that this is reused content. I hover over that, and it shows me everything I need to know. It's reused verbatim, no changes, and a live link to the parent project where this originated. If I ever get lost, there's a side-by-side button that will take me right back to this point. All right, so now that we know that this is reused, there's a couple of things to point out. We have a report immediately available to us. Where is this content reused in the library? And if I need to make an update to the original, where would I go to do that? How would I find it? It's right here. This entire list shows me all the places where it's been linked to. Again, not copy and paste, but more importantly, a link back to the original. So if I own that content, I can make the updates at the appropriate place, and then the notification system in Docuvera would trickle down to all the impacted authors to let them know of that change. So we have now done a reuse, and we can see that that is a portion of our project here. Now, when the notification happens, the core data sheet has changed, and that project, the core data sheet, has now reached a new major version. It's now sitting and approved the next major version. It's that trigger point that sends the notification out to the authors who are impacted by that change. And I know about it because I have a task window up here. This is my task window telling me that I have a changed notification event to attend to. I also have an email in my inbox telling me the exact same information, and both of those methods will take me to where I need to go to address the change. But here is a shortcut because I see a black dot showing up on this recycle symbol, and that tells me updates are available. So that's just a third way that an author would know that they need to attend to these changes. And sure enough, this quick and easy link takes me right back to where I need to be to address the changes. As I simply click on the impacted component, Docuvera scrolls to show me the updated one and the corresponding message that this has changed since the last time, and drag and drop to update. So I'm looking at Vertigo version 4, but over here I am on version 3. And if ever I needed to know what were the changes that were made, there's a hide and show, a toggle on and off track changes available as well. I can simply drag and drop to update that. And once I do, a pop-up telling me it's happened, the black dot goes away on both sides, and version 4 is now reflected in my project as well, version 4. All right, and so as I close this down, now we've attended to that change, there's a couple of other things that we could talk about. And the fact is that once I've brought this in, I have the option to create a derivative version. And I could do that if I needed to make a change to it. Now here's an example, a section called headaches, which I actually don't have. And it's tagged with a change order telling me this is a tracking system that we have in Docuvera, where an author can choose to attach a change order that just gives them the ability to convey more information about this. So I see in this version, this updated version of my CDS, that I have a change order, and I can bring that in because this is an adverse event that I want to report about. But suppose I have a difference here, and so I will change that and now create a deviation, basically the deviation reflecting that this is, hang on, create my deviation reflecting that the rate of headaches is 2% in the EU. And then that becomes part of the record and part of the archive. I close that down. And we can see that along with this change order, we have deviations, talking about the deviation as well. All right, now I want to hand it back over to you, Loranda, and move on to the next portion.
Short and sweet. That's a truncated version, everybody. We hope you come join us for an hour demo later on, but go ahead, Loranda.
All right. So we have another poll that I will be pushing live right now. Again, to see if your poll does not pop up on your screen, visit the poll tab at the bottom of your bottom right hand of your screen. So which benefit of structured content reuse would have the most business impact for your organization? A, faster time to market. B, reduce compliance risk. C, lower operational costs. Or D, improve traceability and audit readiness.
All right, Aristotle, any speculation on what this is going to look like?
I know what the C-suite likes. Faster time to market, right?
Right.
It'll be
And
interesting. Again,
yeah, but when the label gets shipped with, incorrect typos in their name and
yeah.
Okay. So we have a winner, D, improve traceability and audit readiness.
okay.
Aristotle, Susie, I'll hand it back over to you.
Yeah, it's nice knowing that Docuvera has a lot of the audit capability that people are looking for, particularly in the review cycles, reaching into all the different versions of the documentation and being able to report on all the changes that were made, by whom and when. That's a feature that people really seem to like.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the makeup of the community that joined us because, again, it could have gone either way on any of them. I'll see the percentages later. So thanks. All right. Well, thanks for doing that poll. I'm going to go ahead and continue and just give you this little sharing here. We've talked about Docuvera, talked about processes of reuse and effective reuse and potential more efficient reuse that we have here. Again, what you're looking at in that quick demo is a platform technology that supports global labeling teams, but also supports clinical and CMC and pharmacovigilance and everything. Essentially, Docuvera is a platform that governs content. And again, it's a governance first AI assisted platform now, which so much we could share with you on that point, which we will in future demos. But what we're talking about here is an opportunity to govern AI content, to govern your reusable content, your already approved content in a component structured way, and create all these efficiencies across the process. Let me see here. I got some messages coming across my screen. All right. And so we're, again, just to summarize here, we at Docuvera help your team to create substantial gains in your authoring productivity, but also just creating significant cost avoidance in downstream processes. We're going to help you align with regulatory requirements. And again, all of these things, as I mentioned earlier, just the rework alone that's avoided in a process, in a proper content management tool that is componentized, metadata infused content that's propagating across document types, creates a variety of efficiencies. So we'd love to share more with you about this in another meeting. We're going to move on to Q&A, I believe. And LaRonda, I think you're guiding that one, right?
Yeah, I'm back. And everyone, I just promoted those 3 additional learning materials on your screen. I will promote them again at the very end of the webinar, but we will just slide right into our Q&A. So we have one question about AI. So Aristotle, Susie, can you explain more of the role AI plays in reuse?
Sure. So Docuvera is first and foremost a structured component authoring platform, and as such, it is a structured and governed, platform for content. As you were seeing in the demo, I reused content that was approved, and each and every component I brought in was approved. What we are using AI for is to apply an automation layer on top of that governance, so that we can use AI in a way to assemble the content, to gather the content, to, with very little prompting, transform content from one document type to another, let's say from a protocol to an ICF, or from a core data sheet into a label, using automation and a lot of the AI features that we are actually already building into the core product. What you saw in the demo today was a lot of manual steps, but everything that you see me doing manually is an opportunity for us to automate some of that. And I could show you a completely different demo where I've automated a lot of the things that you saw me do manually. That is how we're using AI to bring together a lot of the manual tasks that an author would do and make those much faster, and based upon what we already know about the use cases.
Take away, reuse first, generate second, and approve that content as approved content into component structure so we can govern that. And then if you need to, hands-on keyboard is the third option.
And that's a fantastic point. Some of our clients are seeing reuse levels of up to 80%. So we already know that when an author goes to create something new, a new document, 80% of the document is there, and where you can use AI to generate only that 20%, the gap. We approach generation as the last resort, as Aristotle would say.
Let's get another question before let's go.
Yeah, so we've talked a lot about content, and something that I've seen from our clients and prospects is, what is the content actually in the Docuvera platform? Is it, if I were accompanying my content, or what content are we reusing?
So do you want to take the migration question?
So yeah, that does speak to a migration activity. So first and foremost, we bring in the bulk of customers' latest approved content. And so that reuse model has legs. It forms a foundation for all of that governed content. And we bring in the approved content because that we want to be able to reuse it in that capacity. But that is an effort that we do on the upfront so that the authors are productive with their reuse on day one. Even our AI, in fact, is reusing from within the database. We're not reaching outside of the database, and that there minimizes the risk with AI because we're assembling approved content, not generating new risky content.
Great. That was a great answer. And one last question before we're at time. So what is the tipping point where organizations realize that their document-centric model just isn't working for them?
I think the users and the managers know that a lot sooner than the executives. But what's the tipping point, Susie? Again, it's, these mandates, these digital mandates that are coming at a more fast pace are going to basically push more companies to needing to adopt a structured content way of using their content.
Yeah, for some groups, it is that tipping point. If they're used to producing documentations and baking those into PDF files and then shipping the PDFs to a third party, where they break the PDFs into components and then tag them with metadata sort of retroactively, that's a very painful process that introduces another whole step where our content starts off as components that are tagged at a granular level, and we can streamline by avoiding all of that. So that is one of the pain points that we do here. We also hear that authors are being tasked to do more and more without increased headcount and without more resources, and structured component authoring is often the answer to that problem as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And that is all the time we have for questions. And that concludes our webinar. Again, I just promoted those 3 additional learning materials, so please download them, read them at a later date. We would love to hear your feedback on those. We are going to be at a lot of events coming up in the coming weeks. So we're going to be at Perry Opus, the Global Labeling and Regulatory Symposium that they're holding, Scope Europe, and then also GPROS. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to Aristotle and Susie. They would love to hear from you, and we hope that you have a great rest of your day. Aristotle, Susie, any parting words?
I just thank you for joining us. We really look forward to having individual meetings with you.
Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you all. Have a great day.